don't know about how diets actually work is actually keeping you stuck overweight, low energy, and less confident. Now, I understand how that might sound because everybody usually turns to diets and meal plans to lose weight. Maybe you've tried keto, maybe you've tried intermittent fasting, meal plans, maybe even GLP-1s. Maybe they worked for a while, if you're like most of my clients. Then you stopped. The weight came back on, and now you're right back where you started. Here's the truth that nobody actually tells you, though. Every single diet that you've ever tried ultimately worked the exact same way. Now, I know that sounds crazy because everybody touts that this diet is better because it does this with insulin. This diet is better because of how clean it is. And this diet is better because you get all fats and less carbs and blah, blah, blah. But what if the truth is actually totally different? Today, I'm actually going to break down how diets actually work, why they all tend to fail, and what you need to do instead. So, what we're going to cover today on this channel is why every diet works through the same mechanism, the reason restrictive diets always end up failing, and how to set up your nutrition so that you lose fat without cutting out foods that you love, slowing down your metabolism, and losing muscle as well. So stay until the end also because I'm giving away my sustainable fat loss cheat sheet as well. It has the exact formulas for calories, for macros, and for meal structure. And it's what I have my clients use as well. It works really well. So go ahead and drop a flex muscle or something, drop in the comments saying that you're ready. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. So very first thing is that we've got to know is why do diets all work the same way? Well, every single diet, and I mean every single one, is going to work through one principle, and that is what's known as a calorie deficit. That's it. Now, you might be thinking like, no, Lance, you don't get it because insulin resistance and this is the way that this works and all this. Yes, I get it. Those are basically cherries on top. But ultimately, every single diet, every meal plan, every supplement program, every single one of them is all going to be based on the premise that you are in a calorie deficit. That's it. Calorie deficit just means that you're burning more calories than you eat. All right. There's no magic, there's no special trick. It's just math. So, this is why I can safely say if you're not losing weight, even though you're eating clean, even though you've cut your carbs, even though you're working out, you're still not in a deficit. And you might go, no, I calculated it, Lance. I had somebody do all of this. You're still not in a deficit. You need to know that your body can adapt to being in low calories or to doing a lot of exercise. And this is known as adaptive thermogenesis, where your metabolism will actually slow down to match how many calories you're taking in along with what you're burning. Okay. This is why a lot of times people plateau. They think that they've hit this wall, and really, they've just simply hit a wall that requires new math. And I'll explain that here in just a little bit as well. Okay. So, again, if every diet works the same way, let's talk about a few specific ones. Well, keto works because you're cutting out carbs, and every carbohydrate is worth 4 calories per gram. The average person in America eats about 200 to 250 grams of carbs a day. Let's just say 200 carbs. So 200 carbs times 4 calories, we've got 800 calories in carbs alone. So you cut out bread, pasta, rice, fruit, whatever, you've essentially cut out anywhere between 600 to 1,000 calories if you're just average on your carb consumption, okay? These foods add up to hundreds of calories per day. If you remove them, you are simply in a deficit. And again, does it affect your insulin? Absolutely. But here's the other thing. You could affect your insulin by choosing better carbs instead of removing them, using what's called the glycemic index. This is something I use with my clients where I teach them 80% of your calories are going to come from nutritious foods. That means lean proteins, healthy fats from nuts, seeds, plants, a little less from fat or a little less fats from animal But it doesn't mean you have to avoid it. You don't need to avoid red meat altogether. But the point is that 80% of your calories will be low glycemic index, where they're higher fiber, lower sugar, and they're going to be lean proteins and they're going to be healthier fats. But the other 20% of your calories, when you know how to use calories, 20% of those calories can come from your fun foods. That might be, if you're like me, a bowl of ice cream, a bowl of cereal, or it might be a couple of cookies, or it might be a glass of wine, maybe. 20% of your calories can come from fun foods only if you get the calorie thing down. Because the reality is, if you don't have the calorie thing down, you might be trying to do the 80-20 rule. But if you are eating more calories than you can use in a day, you will not lose body fat. It is just that simple. I'm going to make it even simpler here as we keep going, though. So when you remove your carbs, you are in a deficit for most people. That's why this works. It's not because of insulin, but it does affect insulin. But what you need to know is that when you are more active and you are in a calorie deficit that's safe, that in and of itself is going to help your insulin sensitivity, okay? More activity, better carb seeking, better carb usage is automatically going to cause you to get better insulin sensitivity. Now, I don't have time to go on to insulin sensitivity and resistance on this video, but I will talk about that in others. I've spoken about that on other videos as well, okay? So that's how keto works. Intermittent fasting works also because you're eating in a smaller window, all right? What we call a time restricted window or a food restricted window. Either way, it means the same thing. Ultimately, you skip breakfast or you stop eating at 6 p.m., that eliminates an entire meal or snacking window or multiple meals. That means fewer eating opportunities throughout the day, which also means fewer calories consumed. No magic there either. Now, a lot of people go, no, Lance, you don't get it because I've read this stuff or I've seen this documentary on how intermittent fasting affects your hormones. Well, I get that, but here's what you may not know. Intermittent fasting is not going to affect your hormones until you're starting to get into the 24 to 48 hour fasting. Okay. Now, there's benefits. And again, if you are a Bible follower, you know that there's so much more benefit to fasting than just physical. Okay. In the spiritual, there's a whole, I won't even get into it on this one. I probably will talk about that another time, is how beneficial it is to do spiritual fasting that also affects your physical. But intermittent fasting, where you're doing time restricted windows of 6 to 8 hours, are not going to do what you think it's going to do to your hormones. All it's technically doing, if you do it correctly, is putting you into a calorie deficit. Why? Well, if I normally eat 12 to 16 hours throughout the day, basically when I'm not sleeping, and I eat throughout the day X amount of calories, and then I give myself a time restricted window where now instead of eating from time I wake up till the time I go to bed, now I decide that I'm going to eat between, these 6 hours during the day, or these 4 hours, or this 1 hour throughout the day. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to fit in as many calories, which leads to what? A calorie deficit. Okay. So this is all how this works. Fewer eating opportunities means fewer calories consumed. Fewer carbs means fewer calories consumed. Let's talk about GLP-1s, Weight Watchers, a few other things too. So GLP-1s work because they suppress your appetite. So everything on fat loss is going to come from energy in, foods that I consume, versus energy out, calories that I burn or use, all right? So GLP-1s, fat burners, all this, it's either going to affect how many calories I burn, meaning it might speed up, like caffeine is going to accelerate what I burn. It's not going to do what GLP-1s, which is affecting how much I eat. Now, caffeine can make you less hungry, but ultimately that's how this is all going to work. Even when you have hormone imbalance and all of this stuff, guys, you need to know hormone imbalance is going to mean that you might have more cortisol, you're not sleeping as well, you're stress eating, emotionally eating, your leptin might be off, your ghrelin might be off. Leptin is what's going to be more or less your satiety that tells you when you're full, and ghrelin is going to tell you when you're hungry. So ghrelin is going to tell you, you're super hungry whenever you've got your ghrelin off. When your leptin is off, it's going to tell you that you're not satisfied or satiated when you eat, meaning that you need to keep eating. So this is what happens when your hormones get off. It doesn't just magically stop you from losing weight, though, or stop you from losing fat. It alters how you consume calories or how you burn them. Those are the only two things that really are affected. Poor sleep, stress, all this affects one of these two or both. It really is that simple. So GLP-1s, the drug is going to tell your brain that you're not hungry. You naturally eat less because you don't feel like eating, of course, which means that you're in a calorie deficit. It's just chemically induced. Now, I'm not going to get into all the other side effects that GLP-1s cause. That research, there's so many things that are coming out of there. I cannot discourage you enough from using a GLP-1. I'm not going to say that there are not uses for them, but most people now are turning to it as if it's just like a diet. And if you follow this channel for any period of time, you're going to find out that I'm pretty anti big pharma. And you likely should be too if you care about your long-term health and you don't just want to lose weight just as quickly as you can. You want to lose it and keep it off and be healthy, okay? We want to steward well over the one body that the Lord has given us. And using things like GLP-1s, unless there are extenuating circumstances and so on and so forth, they're usually setting us up for failure. They're usually setting us up for more side effects. They're setting us up for potentially more damage to the one body that we're to steward over. So I'm going to say don't go towards them, but also knowing how they work, which is still creating a calorie deficit, it puts you back in control so you can choose how you want to do your deficit, all right? And then lastly, I'm going to talk about Weight Watchers, Paleo, Whole30, Carnivore. They all create a calorie deficit, all right? Weight Watchers, you're using points. Those points are going to help you to choose foods that are going to be more nutrient dense naturally. And then you're going to have higher point items that are for your breads, your cookies, etc. It's ultimately the same thing. It's designed to keep you in a deficit. Paleo, you're going to choose foods on the outer perimeter of the store. You're typically going to avoid processed foods. That means that you're choosing, instead of the 80-20 rule like I teach, 80% of your calories being whole, nutritious, etc., you're choosing 100% of your foods to be holistic and nutritious. This means that when you're choosing those foods, you're going to feel fuller longer and you will have eaten fewer calories because there's less processed, if any at all, in this. Ultimately, still comes down to a calorie deficit. Whole30, you're cutting out all processed foods, all junk foods, calorie deficit. Carnivore diet, you're cutting out all carbs and all foods outside of meats, calorie deficit. Do you guys see this? It's all based on a calorie deficit. Let me take a drink here now that I'm getting all worked up. So, different rules, same result. They all make you eat less than you burn when it comes to dieting, okay? Exercise and all of this stuff makes you burn more than you're eating. It's still the same thing, all right? Is this making sense, guys? Drop a yes in the comments if this is making sense so far. All right, so now we know why all diets work the same, all right? But why do they always fail? If all diets work by putting you in a calorie deficit, why would you choose the one that makes you miserable? Why would you cut out your carbs, cut out all sweets, cut out all treats? Why would you choose paleo only, where 100% of your foods are clean, when you know that it more likely leads to cravings, it leads to binge eating, it usually will lead to you falling off of some proverbial wagon because you have let's say it this way, you have eliminated the foods that you typically crave, all right? So this is the question that nobody asks. They all work, but they all suck to follow. I've tried so many of them. And ultimately, if they worked, you'd still be on it. You would be down the weight that you've lost instead of losing and regaining, going off of that and choosing it again, right? So again, keto makes you cut out an entire macronutrient. No carbs means no flexibility. You can't eat out easily. You miss foods that you actually enjoy. Eventually, you quit because it's not sustainable. Intermittent fasting makes you skip meals when you may be hungry or when you may be tempted to eat while everybody else is eating. Your body doesn't care about your eating window, okay? There are benefits from skipping meals, but ultimately, if you're in a calorie deficit, that is what's going to lead to your health getting better, as long as it's not a severe deficit. We want sustainable deficits, all right? So your body doesn't care about your eating window. You're starving at 10 a.m., but you can't eat until noon. Or you're starving at 10 p.m., but you stopped eating at 6 p.m. I've seen it all. Again, intermittent fasting is not a new creation, it's not anything new. So you end up binging later because you're so hungry, or if you're like my clients, you do really well throughout the whole week. And finally, by the time you're at the weekend, you begin letting yourself fall into areas that you're not supposed to for intermittent fasting. So it means that it's not sustainable long term. All right. So keto, not sustainable long term for most people. Intermittent fasting, not sustainable for most people. Meal plans are another one. Now, I'm not going to say like I literally write up meal plans for my clients, but it's how they're written up that matters. And if they're not written up for you and it's like a template, it's not going to fit you well. Meal plans tell you exactly what to eat, typically with zero flexibility. Monday, chicken and broccoli. Tuesday, chicken and broccoli. Wednesday might be sweet potato and chicken. But ultimately, by Thursday or Friday, you quit because you're bored out of your mind and you're excited because you're losing, but you're thinking about, all the candy and all the drinks and all the things that you can't have. And you just think to yourself, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal, right? Has anybody been there? I mean, this is what happens. So last one we're going to talk about is GLP-1s. GLP-1s chemically suppress your appetite. And the cheapest ones I've seen are like $250 a month, even on some of the ones that are considered to be more off-brand, they're cheap. And you're putting a pharmaceutical in your body, okay? I don't know about you, but the pharmaceutical companies, I wouldn't call them exactly trustworthy. I don't want to trust them to put a chemical in my body. I'll just leave it at that. I think, about, let's see, what is it, 2025? So about 5.5 years ago, we kind of had some things go on like this where people trusted a lot of pharmaceuticals and it didn't exactly go so well. So this is where I would say, do you really want to trust a company who makes millions and billions a year off of you purchasing something and they don't really care if you're sick, well, or whatever? I would say no. So the second that you stop, normally your appetite comes back, the weight comes back, but also not only did you not learn anything about nutrition when you took GLP-1s, but you don't realize that you've lost so much muscle that your metabolism is now slowed. So when you started your GLP-1, you might have been able to consume 1,800 calories, but by the time you end, because you've lost so much weight in the form of muscle, you might only be able to sustain your weight through 1,350 or 1,400 calories if you're a female, maybe 2,400 calories if you're a male. And then you go back to normal, but now your body has significantly less muscle, which means significantly less metabolism. So that means you start going back to normal and you regain rapidly. So what do? Now you're tempted to go back or to do something that is also extreme again. This is a round and round we go into a loop. This is what we don't want to do, guys. So here's what happens when you're miserable, though. You cannot sustain this. You quit. The weight comes back. You blame yourself. You think that you don't have discipline or willpower, or you think that somehow your age has affected your metabolism. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Lack of muscle has affected your metabolism. Lack of calories, lack of resistance training, those things have affected your metabolism, not your age. The age thing only is affecting you because as we get older, if we don't have enough protein, enough fiber, and resistance train, we lose muscle, which slows down our metabolism. It is not your age. It's a byproduct of the things that you're choosing to do and the things you're choosing not to. Does this make sense, guys? And I don't want to be offensive here. I just want to be truthful. That's why you come to this channel, to find out what am I doing wrong to not get the results even though I'm working harder. Well, this channel, I'm not going to tickle your ears. I'm going to tell you the things that you need to hear, even if you don't necessarily want to hear them, so that you can go and pray, decide, and figure out what is going to be best for you. As for me, as for my clients, we choose to do things that are sustainable. And that means that it needs to be healthy, it needs to be enjoyable, and it needs to be able to, it needs to be effective enough that I can get results, but not so effective and so aggressive that it starts to decline my health or decline my metabolism or my muscle. I'll just leave it at there. Okay, so the last part of this, guys, part 3 of this video is talking about what is the better way. Now, I've talked about all these things and why they work, what the problems are, but you came here to figure out what actually does work. What should you do instead? Well, what I teach is what's known as the 80-20 rule. Now, my nutrition, let's call it philosophy, is kind of an amalgamation of multiple different things. What I found that worked the best for me about 25 years, 24 years ago was doing Body for Life, but it still had holes in it. Okay. Body for Life was what I perceived to be the most balance of all of the plans that are out there. That includes Weight Watchers, that includes keto, paleo, clean eating, you name it, all of them. Body for Life, I believe, was the one that was the most balanced. But again, there were a lot of things that it still missed, such as understanding calories in versus calories out, glycemic index things. What it was really good about is protein, balanced carbs, and making sure that you're getting vegetables and allowing yourself some freedom. But the problem was it encouraged a cheat day or a free day, as it's called, to basically you're eating clean Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, whatever it is, and you give yourself a free day. That free day is great, but if you're not tracking your food Monday through Friday and then you're not tracking your food this day, you really don't know how much gets in, how much you went over, and how much you lacked. It's just basically a I hope I'm doing well sort of scenario. Too many of my clients in the beginning, about 19 years ago, they were using the Body for Life kind of system. But once they lost a certain amount of weight, they always plateaued and we didn't know where to go because we weren't tracking their calories and we had no clue how bad they were really doing on their free day and how good they were doing on their non-free days. So what I did was I took the best of all of the nutrition plans that I thought, oh, flexibility there, effectiveness there, healthiness there, and I created my own over the years and it works very, very well. I'm going to share that with you. So what we do is we do the 80-20 rule, which means that 80% of your foods, you can have nutritious foods that are holistic, like I described earlier in this video. 20% of your calories are going to be whatever you want. This means that you're still in a calorie deficit because you're tracking your calories, but you're not restricting yourself to the extremes. You're not cutting out entire food groups, but you're not giving yourself a whole free day to just have anything you want to extremes. You're not miserable, but you're also still seeing results. It works so well. But it's not just about eating less, though. It really is about understanding how your body burns and uses calories. So here's three things that affect how you burn calories that most diets completely ignore. And the system that I built for my clients, what we call the Joyfully Fit method or the Joyfully Fit system, uses all of this. So number one is the thermic effect of food. Some foods cost more energy to digest. Protein and fiber are going to make your body work harder. You burn more calories just by eating them because they're higher in TEF, thermic effect of food. This is why high protein matters, okay? It's not the bodybuilding method where you're eating 300-400 grams of protein. We're not going that extreme, but you do want to get about a gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. This is going to make sure that you're feeling more satiated, that you're protecting your muscle, and you also have the highest amount of thermic effect of food, meaning for every 100 calories that you burn, or excuse me, 100 calories that you eat in protein, about 30 of those calories are burned just from digestion. Compare that with carbohydrates, where there's only about 4 calories burned per 100 that you consume. It's a big deal. Now, fiber, though, a fibrous carb is about 23 to 25% as well. So while it's not as high as protein, it's still very high. Hopefully, this is making sense, guys. I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving you the science without making this like, oh my gosh, it's over my head. So protein and fiber are high thermic effect of food, which means we want to make sure that you've got about 25 to 35 grams of fiber in your day and about 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. All right. This is what's going to help you. So a 200 calorie chicken breast burns more calories to digest than 200 calories of chips. That's the cool thing. So if you're choosing foods only looking at calories, you're still leaving some fat loss and you're leaving some muscle protection on the table. We don't want to do that. Now, TEF is part one. The second thing is known as needs, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, sometimes also known as non-exercise physical activity. Simply put, this is the movement that you do throughout the day that is not exercise or it is not structured, scheduled exercise. fidgeting, walking, standing, cleaning. Look at what I'm doing with my hands. This is known as NEPA, non-exercise physical activity, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Technically, it's NEPA because non-exercise activity thermogenesis is all things that are unconscious, like when I blink, when I fidget, when I move, where NEPA is going to be conscious movements that are non-exercise. But on this channel, you're going to hear me call NEPA and NEAT pretty much the same thing, okay? So with NEAT, fidgeting, walking, standing, cleaning, this burns way more calories than what you think. Most people think that they need to exercise out of their mind, and exercise only really uses about 5% of your calories throughout the day, whereas NEAT, you're fidgeting and all of this stuff, your non-exercise activity, it's about 15 to 20%, significantly more of your metabolism. So when you're miserable and exhausted from restrictive eating, your NEAT naturally drops. Your brain begins to cause your body to be slower to conserve energy. This is what happens when you diet. This is what happens when you're on GLP-1s. This is what happens when you don't have balanced, let's say, a balanced calorie deficit, a balanced macronutrient ratio. This is what happens, all right? You move less without even realizing it. You're burning fewer calories throughout the day. But when you're fueling properly, you have energy. You move more naturally. Your body burns more without you even trying, all right? Now, the last thing, too, that you need to consider is muscle. So we've talked about TEF, NEAT. Now we're talking about muscle. The more muscle that you have, the more calories your body burns at rest. That's your basal or resting metabolic rate. This is why lifting heavy weights matters. And I don't mean lifting like a bodybuilder or a power lifter. I mean lifting in that 6 to 10 repetition range where you are lifting up heavier weight than you're normally used to. It's going to cause you to gain muscle, which speeds up your metabolism. So we're not just trying to lose weight on this channel. That's not what we're doing. We're losing body fat and protecting muscle to keep a very stout and, let's say, a significant metabolism, all right? So we're trying to change your body composition, decrease body fat, even if your weight stays the same. Muscle keeps your metabolism high. And here's what most people do not realize. When you cut your calories too low, like most diets that are out there, it affects your sleep also. So not only will it affect your metabolism through adaptive thermogenesis and metabolic adaptation, but it also tanks your sleep. Poor sleep tanks your basal metabolic rate, which can be about 15 to 20% of your metabolism. So when you get poor deep sleep or poor REM sleep, you need to know that your metabolism is already decreasing. It also destroys your energy output throughout the day, meaning you can't burn as many calories. We know metabolism is taking in calories and using calories. Energy balance is the balance between them. So you're burning even fewer calories because you're tired and your body is in survival mode. This is why extreme diets backfire. This is why doing tons of cardio backfires. This is why all of this stuff always leads to weight loss, along with muscle loss, along with regaining the weight, along with starting a new program over and over. This is the yo-yo cycle. When you understand how all of this works, you stop chasing extremes. You stop chasing diets. You stop looking for the perfect workout because you just simply know I'm either burning enough calories and eating the right amount, or I'm not. I might be eating the right amount, but I'm too sedentary, or I'm burning a good amount of calories, but I'm eating too much, or I'm not eating enough protein. Whatever, it's all a balance. That's all this is. No diet is superior over another unless it's superior based on what I'm teaching, which is going to be you're getting nourishment, you're losing body fat without slowing down the muscle or slowing down your metabolism, you're losing body fat without losing muscle, and you're still nourishing everything that you need for hormones and so on and so forth. Outside of those things, no diet is superior for results unless it's superior because it's keeping you nourished, all right? So let's see. So when you understand all of this, you stop chasing diets, you stop chasing extremes, you start controlling your body instead of letting some program control you. You eat the foods that you love, you stay consistent, the fat actually stays off, all right? So I know this video is a little bit longer than what I intended, guys, but who's starting to see why this changes everything? When you understand that it's about I'm either burning the right amount of calories or I'm not, and I'm either consuming the right amount of calories or I'm not. Now, this starts leading to everything changing. Your body starts responding well. And now, when you hit a plateau, you know that you either need to burn more calories or reduce your calorie intake a little bit, and you'll get right back to fat loss again. So, where most people get stuck is that they understand the concept, but they don't know how to set it up. Is that relatable? So people might be asking, like, well, how many calories should I eat? How much protein do I need? What about carbs and fats? How do I structure my meals? Okay, totally get it. All of those are valid. That's why I put together what I call the sustainable fat loss cheat sheet. So it's going to give you the exact formulas to figure out your calorie deficit. It's going to help you to set up your macros based on your goal. It's going to help you to define your meal structure templates and the 3 training rules that you need to follow to make sure that you're not overdoing things. This is the same system that I use with my clients. It works because it's not restrictive and it's all based on science and math instead of emotions, all right? It's sustainable and you can follow it for life. If you want the sustainable fat loss cheat sheet, which I would imagine you would, it's totally free, comment cheat sheet below, or you can click the link below as well, and you can get that. You're going to get the link to that. And you're also going to get some awesome guides when you do that as well, some really cool bonuses. It's 100% free, no catch, just real help. Also, if you do want more help beyond the cheat sheet, some of you guys will, my 14-day nutrition fix is only $24 or $27, and it's a 14-day program that walks you through the exact methods of setting up your nutrition, starting to see results, plus everything is pretty much done for you. So you'll get your meal plan, you'll have your exact calories, you'll have your exact macronutrients, you'll have some accountability, you'll have a community. It's insane how much you get for 27 bucks, especially consider that most meal plans are $100 in and of themselves. So the 14-day nutrition fix is an awesome way to start off. Or if you already know that, hey, I don't want a 14-day, plan to kind of test out your program. I've been following you for a bit. I know that I just want your help, but I need to know where to get started on nutrition. Well, that's Joyfully Fit Nutrition. It's very affordable, and it is less than a third of what it costs to work with the nutrition coach, which is awesome. You get full nutrition coaching with weekly macro adjustments, private community, monthly live group coaching calls, my Macro Genius Pro software. There's so much stuff that comes with this, guys. It's basically everything that you need within a nutrition coaching program for under a third of the cost is what it would cost to work with a nutrition coach privately. So start with the cheat sheet though. Grab that, read it, apply it. It will work for you. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment or to email or to join my free group as well. So if you want more help, you know where to find me, guys. Thanks so much, guys. And as usual, too, don't forget, if this was valuable to you guys, if there was anything that helped you, be sure to hit the like, subscribe button, and share this with a friend who could use it. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you guys all on the next one.